What's up, everybody? This is Kaiana Miller from the Hear Me Out Sports Podcast, coming back to you with my weekly wide receiver start sit-em. We're talking Week 6 review, and then Week 7, who you should start, who you should sit. So let's get to it. Okay, like I said, talking Week 7. We'll start off today with a little bit of my Week 6 review. So I told you to start 43 receivers, not including those that were out with injury, and I only hit on 17 of them. That's about 40%. I did have 5 close calls, which would add another 12%, which would push me over the 50%, and close calls within 1 point of that 12. So I had a couple bad breaks, especially with injuries that kind of cost me. So again, that's two subpar weeks in a row, and I am accountable for that. I realize that that's not good enough, that's not going to cut it. So week 7 is going to be a lot better. There's teams that I've given up faith on, players that I've given up faith on, faith and hope. So going to be a lot better this week. But overall, there was only 32 wide receivers that broke that 12-point threshold. I had 17 out of the 32, so 53%. Not great, but I'm going to do better. So let's get moving on to week 7. Buys, we got 4 teams on bye this week. We got the Bills, the Rams, the Vikings, and the Eagles. So make sure you get those guys out of your lineup. That's going to be a kind of a big blow for a few of you. So Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith are all probably top 15, top 20 wide receivers on the weekly basis. So all those guys out of the lineup. Make sure you get them out. Okay, talking week 7 now. New Orleans Saints, Arizona Cardinals. That's a Thursday night game. Hopefully this Thursday night game is better than the rest of the Thursday night games so far this year that have just been pretty awful. So starting off on the Saints side, Chris Olave looks like he's going to be back from his concussion. He didn't have an injury designation in practice, so expecting him back. And if he's back, I'm definitely playing Olave, especially because Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas are both expected to miss. And if they both miss, there's really no one else to throw the ball to. So Chris Olave, he's had a good year when he's been healthy, and I expect him to definitely be a start this week. On the Cardinals side, I know they had news in early this week on Monday that they traded for Robbie Anderson of the Carolina Panthers, but I'm leaving him on my bench this week, especially on a short week. He has 3 days to learn a new playbook. I don't think he's going to be able to really do it, so I think they'll just have some scheme stuff set up for him where he's able to play for a little bit, but definitely don't expect much production from him. But in other Cardinals news, wide receiver news, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be back. They expect him to play Thursday, especially with Hollywood Brown being out for the foreseeable future. So DeAndre Hopkins is back, Kyler Murray's favorite guy, so I expect him to get a lot of love, a lot of throws his way. So I'm starting DeAndre Hopkins, and then Rondale Moore I'm also starting. I know the Saints are pretty good on defense, but they've been banged up lately, so I got Rondale Moore and DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm starting for the Cardinals. Falcons, Bengals. Falcons have just been running the ball pretty much all year, not doing a lot, but I got Drake London that I'm starting this week for the Falcons because I think that the Falcons will be trailing to the Bengals and will have to throw the ball a little bit more than they usually like to. Olamide Zaccheaus, he's had 1 or 2 decent games, but I'm definitely leaving him on the bench. I don't expect much from him. On the Bengals side, I'm starting Jamar Chase. I'm starting T. Higgins if T. Higgins plays. Tyler Boyd, I do like this week, and I almost put him in my start category, but I'm actually going to leave him on the bench this week. I think that Burrow's going to continue to throw Chase's way, of course, and then that T. Higgins will have a good game as well. Lions and the Cowboys. Lions coming off the bye and off of a bad loss to the Patriots where they didn't even score a point. I expect that to kind of continue, sadly, on the negative trend of not scoring as much starting this week with the Cowboys. So the Cowboys defense is legit. They held the Eagles to, I think, 26 points just barely, and that's even with Cooper Rush throwing 3 picks. So Eagles had great starting field position, and they still couldn't muster too much of an offense. ARSB, though, on the Lions, I think his volume alone will get him over that 12-point threshold, so I'm expecting a start from him. Josh Reynolds, DJ Chark, I'm leaving out. Cowboys side, I think Dak's going to play this week. That's what it seems like, and whether he does or doesn't, the Lions still aren't good at defense, so I'm starting CeeDee Lamb, and I'm starting Michael Gallup, who's looked better as he's returned from injury. Noah Brown leaving on the bench. Colts, Titans. On the Colts side, Michael Pittman's a must-start. Again, Matt Ryan's number 1 receiver is always a must-start, so he's looked awesome this year. Definitely starting him. Alec Pierce, the rookie, has been really good the last 2 games. I think that continues. I'm starting Pierce as well. Paris Campbell, even though Frank Reich, the coach for the Colts, has said that he likes what he's seen from him and he needs to get more touches. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. So I'm leaving Paris Campbell on the bench. Tennessee Titans, I don't think they have a receiver worth starting on their roster, especially with Treylon Burks sidelined on the IR. So I'm sitting Rob Woods. I'm sitting Nick Akine. I think that they're just going to try to run the ball with Derrick Henry. So if you got Derrick Henry in leagues, congratulations. But I don't think that any wide receivers on Titans are honestly not even worth starting, but maybe not even worth owning as of this point right now. Packers, Commanders. Packers have looked pretty bad lately. I was saying at the beginning of the year, I said at the end of last year that the Packers aren't great, that Aaron Rodgers is probably one of the more overrated guys in the league, especially because everyone has him as, I mean, he's the back-to-back MVP, that's great, but he can't do it alone, and Devontae Adams isn't there to save him anymore. So I have been disappointed with them, but also not because this is kind of what I expected. So Packers side, I think they get a little bit of a break and a little bit of a rebound because they're playing the Commanders this week. So I got Allen Lazard as a start. He seems to be Aaron Rodgers' go-to guy right now, one of the only guys he trusts, especially with Randall Cobb hurt and out. He's the only veteran left that's getting real playing time in the wide receiving core. So Allen Lazard, I'm going to start. Romeo Doubs is the only other guy that I think is even worth a start in the Packers, and he's a rookie. I get it, but he seems to be the rookie that Aaron Rodgers trusts the most. So I'm starting Doubs, but I'm sitting Christian Watson. Commander side, looks like Taylor Heinicke is going to be starting this week. Maybe Sam Howell, but I'm expecting Heinicke to start this week because I don't think that the Commanders have punted on the season yet. And if Heinicke starts, then I'm going with Terry McLaurin. They have good chemistry from the previous year. Heinicke liked throwing him the ball. So I'm starting Terry McLaurin, but I'm sitting Curtis Samuel, I'm sitting Diami Brown, I'm sitting Jahan Dotson. Bucks, Panthers. I'm going to talk about Panthers first here. That's my team, my favorite team. They're horrible. They're the worst offense in the league. I don't care what anyone says. They've been absolutely terrible all year. So they don't even know who's going to be playing quarterback for them because they're, I think, onto their fifth-string guy. So to recap, they went into the season, and Baker Mayfield was the starter. And this is preseason talking. So Baker Mayfield starter. Sam Darnold was going to be the primary backup. Matt Corral was going to be the third string. P.J. Walker was probably going to get cut from the roster, honestly, if not be practice squad guy. And all four of those guys are currently hurt. And I think they went to practice squad recent signee Jacob Eason. So for all we know, Jacob Eason's going to be starting this week for the Panthers. But whoever it is, they're not going to be doing very well. So I expect DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, Shai Smith, all on the bench. They traded Robbie Anderson. Their team's not going to be good. They're kind of just shooting for that number one pick, I guess, in the draft. On the Bucs side, starting Mike Evans, starting Chris Godwin. Godwin had a good return last week. Brady was throwing him the ball a lot. I don't like the Bucs though overall, and I kind of said going into the year that I didn't think they'd be as good as everyone else thought they were going to be. Tom Brady, he's playing fine, but he doesn't seem to have his team's respect and attention like he had the last couple of years. So I'm still starting Mike Evans, still starting Chris Godwin. The Panthers are good, but their defense has to play so much. They're on the field for so long because the offense is so bad that I expect Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to have startable games. Giants and the Jaguars. Giants side, I like Wan'Dale Robinson. He's their best receiver regardless of health. I know that they got a bunch of guys out right now, but even if everyone was healthy, Wan'Dale Robinson, in my opinion, has looked the best for the Giants. So give me Wan'Dale Robinson as the one guy worth starting. Any week, I'm only going to start max one Giants wide receiver, and this week it's going to be Wan'Dale. On the Jag side, Christian Kirk, I like him as my start, but the Giants defense has been honestly surprisingly pretty good. So I'm only starting one receiver for the Jags. That's Christian Kirk. I'm going to sit Zay Jones. And then if Marvin Jones Jr. plays, although I do like him a lot, he's one of my sleeper picks early on, I'm going to actually leave him on the bench this week. Browns, Ravens, Amari Cooper's been awesome the last 4 games. I'm going to keep starting him, especially against the Ravens, who are one of the worst pass defenses in the league. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I'm going to leave on the bench because, again, the Browns are a run-first team, especially with Jacoby Brissett as their starter. So just starting Amari Cooper. On the Ravens side, if Rashad Bateman plays, I'm starting him. If he doesn't play, I'm not starting any of the wide receivers. Devin DuVernay has been okay, but and I've been actually, if you've seen on Twitter, I've been getting in a couple Twitter debates with people who have talked about how they think Lamar Jackson hasn't ever had any help, that his GM has let him down by not trying to get him weapons, and I just don't think that's true. I mean, they had Marquise Brown, who's a top 5 fantasy wide receiver this year, and he didn't really do much for Baltimore. This week, though, I like Bateman if he plays. Bateman's their most skilled receiver, I should say. So I like him if he plays, but if not, then I'm leaving him all the rest of the receivers on the bench. Jet side, Elijah Moore, I think will get the ball a lot this week purely because he is the squeaky wheel. He had some tweets come out he didn't have a target last week, but I think that they're going to forcing the ball, have some design plays to get him the ball. Garrett Wilson and Corey Davis and Braxton Berrios, I'm leaving all of them on the bench. The Denver Broncos defense is pretty good. Their offense is horrible, but their defense is pretty good. So I like only Elijah Moore on the Jets side. On the Denver Broncos side, I'm going to go nobody. Cortland Sutton, Jared Jeudy, they just let me down every week anyway, especially Jeudy. So I'm leaving both those guys on the bench. Their offenses looked horrible. I don't know if it's Russell Wilson's fault. I don't know if it's Nathaniel Hackett's fault or a mix of both, but they haven't been good. So I'm going to bench those guys, especially against the Jets, who have one of the better cornerback tandems in the league. Sauce Gardner is as real as you can get, especially for a rookie. He's locked down everybody this year. So whoever he's on isn't going to be doing anything. So I'm definitely sitting the Broncos receivers this week. Texans, Raiders. I'm actually starting Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins. The Raiders have been one of the worst pass defenses in the league. I think they're ranked 30th right now. So I'm starting two guys for the Texans, especially because I think the Raiders are going to be winning in this game and the Texans have to throw the ball. Dameon Pierce, though, he could eat into that on the running back side. But I'm starting Brandon Cooks. I'm starting Nico Collins. Raiders, Devontae Adams must start. Obviously, if you have him in the lineup. Hunter Renfrow, I'm also starting this week. The Texans aren't a good defense, so starting two receivers for the Raiders. Matt Collins, I'm leaving on the bench. Seahawks, Chargers. Seahawks, I think, will run the ball mostly because, A, they're a running team, but, B, the Chargers are a terrible run defense. So I think that Kenneth Walker and Geno Smith are going to be running the ball quite a bit, and only one of those Seahawks receivers is going to have enough points to warrant a start, and that's going to be Tyler Lockett for me. DK Metcalf, I like him a lot, but I'm sitting him this week. Chargers, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. If Keenan Allen plays, I'm starting him for sure. Mike Williams is a boom or bust guy, and I think this week will be more boom than bust. And then I'm going to sit Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter. Chiefs, Niners. So Chiefs, Juju finally had a good game last week. That was nice to see, but I don't think it's a repeat. I think Juju, Cole, MVS all on the bench this week. I don't think any of the Kansas City wide receivers is worth a start. I think it's going to be mostly Travis Kelce and the running backs that are getting the touches and the touchdowns for that matter. So sitting the Chiefs receivers this week. San Francisco 49ers, give me Debo as the only guy worth starting. I know Brandon Ayuk had a good game last week, but that's like his only good game of the year, so I'm not starting him. I'm only starting Debo. Steelers and the Dolphins. Steelers, I know that it's, especially in the past, it was pretty easy for guys to clear a concussion protocol, but I think because the eyes on the NFL right now that it's going to take like at least 1 week for anyone to clear a concussion protocol. I mean, you saw last week Tua cleared the protocol and they still didn't even have him dressed. And Teddy Bridgewater was dressed and ready to go, and he didn't play until Skylar Thompson, the third stringer, got hurt. So I think teams are being overly cautious right now, especially with the eyes on the NFL. They don't want to be criticized. So that all being said, I don't think Kenny Pickett starts this week, and that changes how I view the Steelers receivers. I think it's going to be Mitchell Trubisky starting, and so Deontay Johnson's his go-to guy. I'm starting Deontay Johnson against a pretty good Miami team. George Pickens, not starting him unless Kenny Pickett's playing, and then Chase Claypool had a really good game last week, but that was his only good game of the season, so I'm comfortable leaving him on the bench this week. Dolphins, you start Tyreek, you start Jalen Waddle. Doesn't matter the matchup, doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Both those guys are going to produce. Cedric Wilson hasn't done anything, so I'm sitting him. Last game of the week, Bears-Patriots, Monday night. Bears, there's not a single receiver on that team worth starting. Mooney had an okay game last week, but their team's horrible, so not starting Mooney. I'm not starting N'Keal Harry. I'm not starting any of those guys on the Bears. On the Patriots side, give me Jacoby Myers. Give me Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton is a guy I own in quite a few leagues. I drafted him in rookie drafts. I'm talking Dynasty right now. I drafted him in a lot of rookie drafts in my Dynasty leagues, and I thought he looked really good last week. Had 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing and 1 receiving. I'm hoping Bailey Zappi, who if anyone knows, and I'm going to keep pounding it, this was my best take all year. Bailey Zappi I had is one of my best. I actually had number one rookie quarterback this year. And honestly, the guys that have played, he's looked like the best rookie quarterback so far this year. So I'm hoping Bailey Zappi gets at least one more start. And if he does, it boosts the wide receiving core to me. Jacoby Myers, I think regardless of who the quarterback is, he's a must start. He gets enough volume to warrant that. And then Tyquan Thornton, again, the rookie. I like him a lot. I like what I've seen. I'm starting him. I'm going to leave Devontae Parker, even though he's looked much more explosive and he's their best jump ball receiver. I'm leaving him on the bench. Nelson Aguilar, even if he's healthy, I'm not going to play him. And that wraps it up here for week 7. So again, last week kind of struggled a little bit, but injuries and, lack of luck, honestly, kind of hurt me. So this week 7, turning it around, I expect a lot, and I've given up hope, like I said, especially on my Panthers receivers. I'm just done starting those guys. Their quarterbacks are all terrible. Not going to start a Panthers receiver probably until 2023, so giving up on them. As always, ask me questions. Love getting the start sit questions on Twitter. Got quite a few this last week, and I get to them as fast as I can. Hit us on Instagram as well with any questions. Jace will take care of you over there. On YouTube, you have any questions, let us know. Tell us how bad we are. Tell us how much we stink. Tell me what your league fees are. And if you take my advice and you lose games because of it, then I'll cover your league fee. So just let me know, and I'll take care of you guys. I'm here to help you win. Everything we do is free. I'm not going to charge anyone for my advice. So just let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm always happy to help. As always, when in doubt, hear me out.